Hey there, it's Derek here from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan. We're looking at a Toyota Hiace. This one here is a four-wheel drive turbo diesel one, and surprise, it has 401,000 kilometers on it. 401. I think this is the highest mileage one that we have ever sold. And so kind of interesting to see what one of these looks like after you've put in that much mileage into it. And this one being 1997, we're now at 26 years old. So high mileage, old vehicle, still in relatively good condition considering all of that. And of course, you go with a higher mileage one like this, you get a lower price. Have a look here. Okay, now the engine is a little bit noisier than your regular Hiace engine, but it still seems like it runs fine. Throw that down there for now, and I'll come back to the interior in a second. But let's go ahead and translate the auction inspection sheet. This is information from the auction that we based our bidding off of. It's a 97 Hiace Wagon 4-wheel drive Super Custom G, 3-liter turbo diesel engine. This one has a 5-speed manual. Did you see that? 5-speed manual in a minivan is lots of fun. Hiaces are great vehicles, and the fact that they come in a manual is icing on the cake. But if you're looking for a manual yourself, you're going to be a little bit hard-pressed to find one, especially if you want the KZH 106. The KZH 116, which is the van model or the commercial grade version of it, is a little bit easier to find in a manual. These ones here, probably about 2 or 3% of them brand new, were sold in manuals. Most people who want a minivan, especially a new minivan, don't want a manual. And then in the used market, everybody wants them. So you tend to pay a little bit extra for the manuals too. Okay, so it has AC and that works. Power windows, of course, power steering. It's fairly well appointed for being, a minivan from 1997. Okay, 401,660 kilometers. Power steering, power windows, airbag, sunroof. It's a triple moonroof, actually. You get one here, one huge one here, and then 2 mini ones in the back seat. And so, really cool. 4-wheel drive, moonroofs, comfortable interior. You can make the seats in the back transform into a sleeping platform. Okay, the report here, let's see, 4-wheel drive, 5-speed manual, sunroof, windshield rock chip, which is usually something I wouldn't worry about too much. Door mirrors scratched. They're actually faded and peeling. Okay. Steering wheel wear, which I would say is about a 5 out of 10 in terms of wear. Interior seat, dirty, cigarette burn, and wear. It's actually been smoked in quite heavily. Now, I don't think it's been smoked in recently, but the headliner is all discolored because of the cigarette smell, and there are a few cigarette burns, which I'll point out in a second. If you take a look at this, the colors might not come through on the video because the camera decides how much white balance to give it, but it is fairly distinct, and probably a good idea to get that properly cleaned if I were you. Okay, front pillar dented. It's actually more damaged than I thought it was, and I'll show you that in a second. And then underside surface rust and corrosion. And actually, I'm surprised at the lack of corrosion on the underside, considering there is some pretty rough corrosion over here on the body, which I'll show you in a sec. Various scratches and dents. It's an R grade with an interior exterior C, and the body seems like that's accurate C and C. It is a higher mileage one after all. Okay, so we have A2, paint peeling, rust, paint peeling, paint peeling. It's really not too bad. There aren't many large areas of dents or scratches. Really, the only damage is the rust on the body. And then if you look at this decal, there's it's like cracking and damaged. And that's on both sides, basically all the way down. And then peeling paint all over the roof. But the roof is also tall enough that not many people see that. And it's also easy enough to repaint. And could be painted white. You could do like a sand beige with a white roof. Would look really cool on a van like this. The retro van or retro SUV thing is really popular here in Japan at the moment. Okay, so I'll take you for a tour around it so you can take a look at the body. This video is for the owner of the vehicle to check the condition before it gets sent to them. So of course they will want to know everything about it. And they have been nice enough to allow this to go on YouTube. I would say only about 10% of the vehicles that we sell end up on YouTube, maybe even less than that, maybe about 7%. And so it is a nice little surprise when we get this. Albeit most of our customers are dealerships, and of course they don't let their cars go up on our channel. Okay, so now that we've done the once around, let's have a close-up look at some of the damages on it. So I showed you that mirror already. The other mirror over here is faded, not as much, but it is faded. It's going to need some paint. Okay, the front area here has a number of rock chips. There's probably about 20 to 25 of them in total. Some of them have been touched up with touch-up paint. Some of them haven't, and so you have a little bit of rust in some of the areas. Headlights are both faded to yellow. Oddly, these marker lights haven't faded. Usually, those marker lights start to crack and need to be replaced before the headlights turn this yellow. So they're probably not the original ones. It has parking sonar that beeps, but the parking sonar has been cracked. It's made out of a plastic that's kind of brittle and susceptible to sun damage, and so this happens quite frequently. Here's your A2 on the front bumper, right there. A little bit there as well. Has fog lights. Okay, has some rust in the clip here. Oh, and there's a bolt broken off in there, so you'll have to drill that out and tap a new hole. Actually, this one's going to the USA, where the license plate bolts are in slightly different locations. You do have to fabricate something up for the license plate. Has a little bit of fade here, and the wiper arms have quite a bit of surface rust on them. Okay, here's some paint peeling. And I'll show you the rest over here. Okay, so side decal, here's a close-up. Not that good. Tires are from 2016 with a fair amount of tread left on them, so they can continue to be used. Tire size here is a 215/70 R15. Okay, we have a little bit of damage right here, and I got another video for the side panel check, so I'm not going to focus on that very much, but I will talk about the rust that's underneath the railing here. This is a weak part for the Hiace. There's also some underneath the window here. Now, they did mention it as S1 on the auction sheet. I would say that this is more like a C1 or an S2. S is rust, C is corrosion. It can be a little bit of an overlap there. Rust and corrosion are basically the same thing, just called something a little bit different on the Japanese auction sheets. So, unfortunately, this one here looks a little bit difficult to fix. You'll have to maybe take the window out. It is a window that pops out, but it doesn't pop out that much. But you might be able to get it popped out enough that you can get some sandpaper in there and fix it. Okay, it also has some rust issue down here, and this is a very common place for them to rust as well. Right here. It's become crunchy. And then there are some rock chips that have started to rust right there. Now, usually when you have this much rust on the body, you'll get a rustier underside. And although there is some surface rust on the underside, I wouldn't say anything is threatening. This area here, mind you, is a very weak spot on the Hiace. A lot of them get rust on that. It is a very strong member. You can grind that away and then paint it, and it still should be fine. Okay, the back panel here, you're going to see some surface rust under here. See, like there, and back there, maybe a little bit. It's really not that bad. Okay, a bit of paint damage here. I'd say that this one has probably more damage than the average vehicle that you'll see on this channel. And of course, if you are looking for a cleaner vehicle, you can do certain things to get a cleaner vehicle, or you can save money by getting one that has higher mileage like this. Okay, this area here is good on this side, and your suspension mount here. See, this hole here causes the rust, I think, because it's always in and around that hole that is automatically there. And I think that that hole is there because that's where the bolt goes for the two-wheel drive version, which is a little bit lower suspension. I'd have to check that, though. There's some paint damage here, so some peeling paint that has been touched up with spray paint, and then the spray paint has bubbled because the surface wasn't treated. Okay, and again with the decal on this side, a little bit rough. You can take that off, mind you. Okay, so to the interior now. I'd say that the interior is pretty good, save for the headliner damage and the cigarette burns. The only cigarette burns that I could find are one right here. Get in there. Okay, one right here. It's a minor one. And then both door cards have one or more. This one here has two here, and I think the one on the other side has three. Okay. A little bit of heel damage in the floor mat. That needs to be cleaned. Here's the steering wheel that I said is at least a 5 out of 10 in terms of damage. It kind of is worn smooth and discolored a little bit. And the interior does smell like cigarettes. It's not a heavy smell of cigarettes. In fact, that car over there smells more of cigarettes than this one does, even though that one's only 7 years old. Seats, pretty good. I don't think there are any cigarette burns in these seats. This one's looking good. And for 400,000 kilometers, that's remarkable. No sag. I wonder if those are the original seats. They are at least the original fabric, because they match in the rear. Okay, dashboard. That's a radar detector. A mount for something that's been glued on. Okay, some sort of a radio thing. Navi screen. AC works nice and well. Blah, headliner's gross. And a TV. And in Japan, you have to have a sticker on the TV for how old it is. There's a regulation. This one's from 2002. So a CRT from 2002. I guess CRTs kind of died in around 2005 or so. That's when you would be hard pressed to find them in the stores. Okay. And this cushion that isn't actually part of the vehicle has cigarette burns in it. So at least they burn that cushion and not the seat underneath. Nice people. Into the back seats. Guess what? You can rotate these seats to face backwards if that is your jam. And they even have provisions for seat belts for backwards. So you face it forwards and you get this seat belt. You face it backwards and you get an auxiliary seat belt. It's only a lap belt, but it does mean that you can drive around with that facing backwards. I found a cigarette burn that I didn't notice before. And these seats slide forward and back, and you can rotate just this one or just these two if you want. You can put your feet up. From here to there is nice to put your feet up. You got that TV there from 2002 with a VHS in it. By that time, DVD had already started taking over. Funai is the brand. I haven't heard of it. Sounds Japanese, though. Okay, sunroofs all work. I did test those, and it's far less cigarette damage back here than there is up here. Okay, these seats, I'm not sure why, but they can't move forward and backward. They are broken, it seems. At least I tried from the rear. I haven't tried from in here. Like there are handles in the trunk. I can't move that. It shouldn't be too difficult to figure out what's being jammed. It could just be a matter of like some sort of a junk in there, or maybe even some sort of a lock to lock them in place. Okay, but it is in relatively good condition. Let's move this seat back. And so with those seats in the full frontal position, there's plenty of room back here, as you can see. You can almost live back here, which is perfect for North America because nobody can afford a house anymore. Way worse in Canada than it is in the USA, at least in any of the areas that people want to live. The US has like 20 cities that are suitable to live in. Canada's got like 2 that are medium-sized cities, and then a whole bunch of like pretend cities that are like 100,000 people to 300,000 people. got these guys. They look very 1980s. Let's see, do we have an age on this? It was 1,200 yen, which was very cheap for CDs. 1994. But that's when the CD came out. It kind of looks even more retro than that. 94. And more. Those guys look even older. I can't say I recognize any of them. 94. They look like they're all part of the same series. It says 1994, but also 1996 is on here, so I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but maybe some of those artists can be found in here, if you're lucky. I don't know how to close that now. All your favorite Japanese artists. Okay, and these sunroofs have a little cover. The cover tracks are dirty, so they didn't open all the way when I tested it. Okay, relatively good in here, but it needs to be cleaned, and these side pieces here are very prone to being damaged. These ones are in pretty good condition. Okay, I feel like I've talked about this car for too long. 16 minutes is far too long for a Hiace. If you have made it this far, I'm sorry. That was too much Hiace for everyone. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.